Okay, even though you don't have to do this part, I want to show you how this part works anyway because it's an important part of this. GIS is an essential part of planning and of analysis. And if you haven't taken that class already, you should, or you should learn something about GIS. It's a really highly useful class. So let's get on with this. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the data that we created. So got to think about where I put it. And I put this under projects, UV modeling class startup. That one. And then it was a CSV file under output. That's right. TAZ analysis. Okay, so we're going to add that field. Now I'm going to create a copy of this because this one shows my districts and I'd kind of like to keep that. So I'm going to do a copy of that layer. I'm going to paste the same layer up here. Now I have two copies of the same thing, and I'm going to go ahead and keep one down there like that, but change this one. But before I change it, I need to join the data to it. So I'm going to do relates and joins. Join what? You're going to join the TAZ ID from my polygon file and the new TAZ analysis CSV that I just brought in, and I'm going with TAZ ID from that. Keep all records. Okay. So now that I've done that, I can open the attribute table in ArcGIS and hopefully see that it has done the join, and it did. So I have my TAZ ID over here, and I've got the same TAZ ID, so this is all the joined data right here, and it shows my densities over here. Good. So now I'm going to do a thematic map based on my housing densities per acre. And I don't have a predefined color scheme, but housing is usually displayed as browns, yellows to brown. I don't know if I have one like that. That would be just like Arc to not have one. So let's just do it like that. That didn't work very well, so I didn't choose a field, that's why. Okay, so alright, so this is a natural breaks thing, but I usually like to make my own files, so I'm going to go with a manual one, and I want to see anything that has less than 1 unit per acre. I'm going to call that generally rural. If it's got up to 2 units per acre, it's going to be generally suburban, or lower density suburban. If it's got 3, it's kind of higher density suburban. If it's got 6 units per acre, then it's a little bit higher, and then even on up to 58. Okay, so let's see what we get when we do that. So, and I'm going to change my rural to a rural color, green, and let's just see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to move that out of the way. And alright, so that thinks that's what Logan looks like in terms of housing units per acre. Now the labels are still labeled by zone. I'm going to go ahead and change that to be not by zone but by 2010 housing per acre. And alright, so let's go in and take a look at that. Now that's kind of interesting. It doesn't seem to match what I thought I had before. So if I turn this off and turn on this districts, I can see my central core district is these 4 zones right here. If I turn the same one on, oh whoops, I need to turn that one off, and it says 34, 58, 44 units per acre, I think is what that means. So let me just, I'm going to take a look at this. First, I guess I'll select those 4 zones. Then when I bring this back over here, I'm going to go over here and take a look, and it says my 2010 housing units per acre, H10 per acre, H10 per acre. So I have a mislabeling of the field. Maybe I made a mistake in my Excel. I'm going to go back and look at the Excel just to see. So this was the file that I exported. I'm going to go down to, I think 180 was one of the zones. It says H10 per acre, 40, H10 per acre, H40. So that's a bit of a mistake in that I needed to label that employment. So let's go back to employment. Where does that go? Since I labeled it wrong, I want to make sure that I computed it right, even if I labeled it wrong, and I did. There's the emp. So that means I need to change this H to E. Whoops. H, E, replace all, close. Alright. So now when I come back over here, I don't have duplicate columns anymore, and that's why it got it wrong. Because when I go to 180, I had H10 per acre, and I also had H10 per acre here that was 34 and 54. Those were really my jobs per acre, so that's why I screwed that up. So I need to save that again, but I can't save it because it's open in Arc. So what I need to do first is save my Arc project. Then I need to close the Arc project and yeah, save changes. Oh well, crashed that. Oh well. And file, save the CSV. Yes, I need to do that, but I also need to save as my original workbook, or else I'm going to lose the changes that I made. Okay, so now if I reopen Arc, the data was joined, and it should still be joined, so I just corrected the data. I'm crossing my fingers that it comes in correctly and I don't need to do anything. Alright, so those are different colors than they were before. These are the same 4 zones, and when I do open attribute table and take a look what I've got, it's sort of right this time, but also sort of wrong, because the data was joined and it remembered that it had a field there that was called H10 um, that had an H in it, but now it's changed to E, so it doesn't know what to do anymore. So that means that I probably just need to rejoin the data, and I can get it correct this time. But it fixed it in terms of where it went in the households. Alright, I saved you some of the pain and agony of watching me set up colors and everything. So what I did here was I made um, some colors for the housing densities and some other colors for the employment densities, and those are the ranges over there. Now what we're going to do is export this to Google Earth so that we can see it in a nicer, friendlier format than this. So I have this program called Arc to Earth. It's an extension to ArcGIS, and it helps you make KMZ files from this stuff. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to say I want all four of these layers exported. I'm going to clamp them to ground. On the hollow ones I don't want a transparency, but on the ones that I set transparent, that's the value I set it to in Arc, and it brought that in. So that's good. So I think that's good. Now labels is something I want to have on there too. Use layer field directly. I'm gonna label, and this is a slight bug in Arc, it doesn't remember very well the names of my fields, but I remember that it was number 3 and this one was number 1. So field name number 1. Okay, and I think that's it. So now if I just hit export, oh, I didn't have a name, better get me a name. Alright, so done, and I'm going to export. Here it goes, and in virtually no time it wrote that out, except that I wrote the raster image of the aerial photo back there, and I didn't want to do that, so I think I will fix that. Alright, so I wrote out the KMZ file. Here it is. I'm going to open it up and see what we get. Oh, that's cool. And I have a lot of other things open. Let me see if I can turn some of them off. Those are, I'll show you those on another day. That's the couplet analysis that we'll do sometime. And okay, so now I've got these various layers down here. I thought I had turned on labels, but I don't see the labels. Okay, so this is where it says we've got employment located, but I don't know why I didn't put the labels on. I better push pause and fix it. Okay, this time it worked. So now we're looking at the jobs per acre with the TAZ boundaries in view. So here's one of the TAZs in the downtown core, and you can see that this TAZ is 3 blocks, and it averages 58 jobs per acre, and it's gross acres. It includes the streets and the parks and anything else that happens to be in the polygon. Let's take a look at housing units per acre 2010. So that says 2 housing units per acre typically, which, judging from what's in there, I believe that. Doesn't look to be many houses or apartment buildings at all. It seems to be almost exclusively businesses. 0.88 there, and up here same thing, hardly anything. A little more, 3.2 housing units per acre. I can see a few houses back here. but there must be some apartments or something in here too. Over here we've got 4 housing units per acre per gross acre, um, and here's 7.5. So it's a little hard to see where the outline is of that TAZ, but I think it's all these 6 blocks here. 7.5 units per acre. So that's actually kind of dense because when you consider parking lots, streets, the fact that there might be a business or two in there, and that there's certainly a lot of houses, 7.5 units per acre over a wide area is kind of dense. Up here we've got 10, so this is right next to the college. That's pretty high density right there. And what else is useful to know? Okay, so here's a zone that has 4.3 dwelling units per acre. That would be, if you had 4 units per acre, that means it's quarter acre lots usually, but that's not the right way to think about a traffic analysis zone. These are not quarter acre lots. It's just that it averages out to a quarter acre per housing unit. So the lot sizes are usually smaller than that. So these quarter acre per housing unit probably means that on average this is a fifth or a sixth of an acre lots, maybe even smaller than that. Especially given that you can see some fairly large spaces that don't have any homes on them back in here. It could also be factoring in some apartment buildings as well to boost that a little higher. But that's one of the differences between TAZ densities and development densities that you would see from a developer at a city. When they talk about quarter acre lots, that does not mean that you're going to have a TAZ that is averaging quarter acres across the whole TAZ.